Indiana Jones and the Monkey King, Chapter 1, Scotland, 1937. Indiana Jones was out on a fishing trip, driving in the Scottish Highlands. Indy was assigned by his father to go and examine Scotland to see what his father's birthplace really was about. So far on the trip, he'd landed in Glasgow, where he'd met up with his father's nephew, Harry Reynolds. The two men then drove out to a lake for a fishing trip, since fishing was something Indy had always wanted to try. Harry was a nice cousin of Indy's. He'd told him stories about his childhood, and his whole life was constant fishing. Today, Indy and Harry were driving in an automobile towards the lake they were going to fish at. Harry had always wanted to drive an automobile, but never got the opportunity to do so without his driver's license. Indy had never gotten to spoke on the drive though, so he asked Harry, "So is this where you do your childhood fishing, cousin?" "Yes," Harry answered with his Scottish accent. "Quick, park down over there." Indy listened to Harry and drove down to a small slope, then pulled up on a small gravel patch under the shade of the trees. He turned off the rattling engine of the automobile and got out. Harry got out of the automobile as well and stepped to the back, where he picked up some fishing supplies. "You always know, Dr. Jones," Harry started as he grabbed his fishing rods. You have always got to have your rods with you." "Yeah, I know," Indy stated. "I never fished, but I know how fishing works." Harry stepped over to Indy and said, facing him, "But you gotta remember the bait, Dr. Jones. Don't worry though, there's a few worms around here." Indy then trodden off as soon as Harry said that and searched for some soil. There wasn't that much soil around, only gravel and grass. "Harry, do you have a shovel?" Indy called. "Nope," Harry replied. "Wait until a bird comes down. The bird will pick the worm, and then you scare it off. It will drop the worm where it found it, since it'll be so startled that it will lose control of what it's eating." Indy then stood still, but it made sense. Birds often drop stuff when they get scared. Even when a chicken is being held and you try to feed it, it wouldn't eat. Indy wondered how long it would take for a bird to drop down. Harry stood down and didn't speak a single word. It wasn't until a robin landed on the grass. Harry then slowly put out his hand towards Indy, which probably indicated him to stay still. Indy had to keep as still as possibly could in order for this method to work. The robin then picked at the ground and caught an earthworm in its beak. "Bah!" Harry shouted as he dashed towards the bird. The robin immediately took to the air, and he had dropped the worm from the air. Harry caught the worm in his hand and ran towards Indy in excitement. "You see that, Dr. Jones? You see that?" Harry exclaimed. "We've got bait now." Thank you all for watching me suffer and watching me read this crazy and also disgraceful fanfic, and I'll see you all next time. It really isn't great to read something like that.
Talkie BE32, Talkie BE32, he's the one who's right here. Talkie BE32, he wears a shirt over